First off is the exhaust manifold. And once I got that off, I started unbolting the camshaft variators, which are electronically controlled. I still have no idea how, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Well, that's not what I expected to see. I don't think that's really helped us in any way. Again, because we're unsure on how any of this works, and because we've never done it before, we're being extra careful just to mark everything on where it sits now, because we know that the engine is timed up correctly. So worst case scenario, when we reassemble this engine, we make sure everything lines up with the blue marks that we've done with the paint pen. That way we can be sure it's all good. Once we've done that, now I can lift off the rocker cover, which reveals 2 camshafts. These are the camshafts. On the engine, this side is the intake camshaft, and what these do with these lobes here like that, as they rotate when the engine turns around, it then goes down and pushes down a valve to open either the intake or the exhaust valve, which this one you can see is pushed down. The cam lobe is pushing that one down, opening the exhaust valve, but on this side, the intake valve is closed because the camshaft is pointing upwards. Now, if you were to mess up the timing and have them going around the wrong way round, or they're not in time with each other, then when a piston comes up, it could smash the valve and the whole car would just be obliterated. It would just be no good. So it is so important right now that we mark exactly where this is, because we have to get back in the exact same location. There are special tools which you're supposed to do this with. We don't have them. If we do it without, magic. Use that. Now my dad is making even more marks with a paint pen, so we can put everything back where it was. And the next job is to remove these camshafts, because underneath them are the bolts to remove the cylinder head. First thing we've got to do to remove the camshafts is make sure that this chain is slack, because right now it's super tight. And the thing that's making it tight is the tensioner. Look at that. So this fills with oil through there, I think, pushes, all oil is underneath this, and this is pushing against the chain to keep it nice and tight. After that, we need to remove the cam variators. These cogs here, which the chain sits on. As soon as we get this out, we'll be able to lift the camshafts out, because this chain is not slack enough to lift it. So we're using the source tool and an adjustable spanner. These do require a special tool to remove, but as you can see, we don't have that, and it seems we needed it. Our screwdriver and spanner wasn't enough, so we had to think outside the box and try and get it off without using that tool, which my dad managed to do. Yes! And that's both camshafts out. Now we can access the bolts for the cylinder head. Once you remove these bolts, you're meant to replace them when rebuilding the engine, along with the head gasket as well. And when I ordered these from Porsche, they were pretty curious, because there's not been many orders for them, as they mentioned that these engines just don't go wrong. Oh, it's milky down here. And that's the cylinder head off. And it's not looking good.
Guys?
Little bit of a problem.
It's very bad.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Oh, look, what's all this? Is that the... What is that? Well, it's a good job we didn't turn the engine over, because you can see now what we were scared of. Well, what do we do? Because either way now, if we want to take the block out, the piston's got to slide up or down to take the block off. So either way, at some point it's got to rotate. So we either try and clean this up and then turn it over, which we probably should just do. But before we do that, we should do the other side as well. Now, we're one step closer to turning this engine over. The cylinders don't look great, but we have much better access now at cleaning them before we do turn it over. But before we do, we've still got to strip the other side of the engine apart. And once we get this apart, we won't be able to visually see whether any of the con rods are bent, but we will be able to tell when we turn the engine over, because some of the pistons won't rise all the way to the top of the cylinder.
Oh dear. That looks rusty.
If anything, this side of the engine looks worse than the other. There's a lot of rust in these cylinders, and if we turned it over like this, it would for sure ruin it. So now I'm pouring in some cleaner into the cylinders, which should hopefully break down that rust. Fingers crossed. Well, I thought this was going to be like, really, I thought we was going to make such good progress right now, but there is some potential that this engine was running when it went into the water. And one thing that we are slightly worried about here is it's this cylinder. We've put in this rust off thing to try and get the rust out. Right, can you see this black mark here? See that?
Yep.
Now that feels like it feels lower than the cylinder, if you know. So it's not raised up with rust. It feels like it's pitting inside. But like, why would it only be like that on that part there? We're trying to think, why is it like that? It feels rough. The only thing I can think of is that the rust is actually ate away at the cylinder wall. If it has done that, I think I've wasted even more money on the top.
So how are we going to know for sure?
I think we're just going to have to commit to turning it over. I genuinely thought we was going to rebuild the engine in this video. I thought that was the plan. I thought with the engine we rebuild, we'd turn it over and be like, okay, let's move on to that tub. Like, now I actually don't know what we're going to do. The only thing we can do is try and clean these cylinders the best we can. At the same time, we don't want to damage them. So I'm only using some wire wool just to run around the edge of the cylinders with a little bit of WD-40 to hopefully clean off all of this rust. But this was proving to be tough.
It's all really dark.
I still couldn't budge any of the stains off the cylinder walls. This engine Might now be a coffee table inside my office.
That's an expensive coffee table.
It's a good coffee table.
Now that I did my best with 3 cylinders on one side of the engine, it's time to move over to the other 3 cylinders on the other side. It's gone.
Yeah, that's had it.
Left the track.
That's
not working anymore. Well, let's look on the positives.
It's going to be a nice table.
This is it then. We've done all we can. We've done all we can. If we take it apart, the cylinders are going to scrape. If we turn it over, the cylinders are likely to scrape. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Let's see if it turns over. If it turns over and it doesn't scrape the cylinders, winner. If it don't, which we're expecting, I don't know what we're going to do. But my dad's going to use this now to turn over the flywheel, which is attached to the crank, and the crank is attached to the conrods, and the conrods are attached to the pistons, which are inside the cylinders, which could potentially be broken. 26 minutes time to finally turn over the Porsche engine.
Are we ready then?
We're hoping it's not seized. It turns over. No way. The engine was actually moving, which is a good sign for the conrods.
2 piston coming up.
So I'm surprised it turned over, which is positive. It could mean we might not have a bent rod. The fact that this engine is turning over and the pistons are getting right to the top of the cylinders is proving that the conrods aren't bent. So the engine probably did shut off before it went into the water. It seems like we don't have bent rods. Good news. Now we're flipping over the engine to check the other side. Yep, that's at the top. I would say none of the rods are bent.
So would you say none of the rods are bent, but the pistons, the sleeves are damaged?
I think the sleeves. I don't think you can run a sleeve like that. I don't know. I don't know what you do in this situation. The engine seems all good, apart from the cylinder sleeves. And these need to be perfect. And if these are damaged, the engine's no good. Unlike some cylinder blocks where you can actually re-sleeve it because the sleeves are removable, this Porsche engine is one solid bit of aluminium, so it's not possible to do so.
Hello.
We need your help and opinion.
Oh god.
If this was in an engine that you were rebuilding, what would you do? Can you see that?
That mark.
And it feels kind of rough. It has been underwater.
That's corrosion. That looks like the alley seal. It's peeled off, mate.
When these Porsche engine blocks are built, the cylinder bores are coated with a special spray, which is supposed to reduce friction and reduce heat in the cylinder and is corrosion resistant to an extent. That's unless the cylinder is full of water. And it seems like the rust has ate away at that coating. And when that happens, the cylinder is no good to anyone. So what's the solution to that?
Put a new block in it.
Brilliant.
It'll run. It'll run. It'll probably smoke. And then it'll basically, the ring and the liner will just tear themselves to bits.
So now I have to make a decision. I've already bought a whole new tub, but to fix this engine, it looks like I've got to buy another cylinder block. I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so verdict's in from Ricky, which makes sense. So it's aluminium block, which is coated, and the coating has come off. We've just sent the VIN number to Ricky, and he's going to have a look at how much a block is. We're about to find out how much more money we can waste on this car. Text. This could be the decision maker. £6,346 plus VAT. So if we commit, this is the problem. We need everyone's opinion on this. Because if we commit to buying this block, not only are we committing to fully rebuilding the engine then, we also don't know if the gearbox works. We don't know if any of the electrics work in the car. We've still got damage to the roof, the quarter panels, the A-pillars. We don't have a wing, headlights, bumper, bonnet, rear bumper. Like, we're at the very, very bottom of the mountain. So we need, I think if I buy this, I've committed. Is it worth it? I don't know. Yeah, I think this is a tough one. I really wanted to rebuild this engine in this video, but we weren't expecting this. And this is the thing, when a car gets dunked underwater, what do you expect? Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. The turtle just calls Nemo Jellyman because he was in with a jellyfish. And it's like, oh, jelly dude.
Like a drug head, I just can't deny giving me the best time.
This brand new GT3 RS has been on its roof. And I had to buy this one to fix one that's been underwater. Yeah, not ideal, but we ended up stripping apart all the parts of the one that's been underwater and putting them in a box to send back home to the UK after finding out that that chassis wasn't worth repairing. I don't think this is even repairable either. But once we got the engine back in the UK and stripped that apart, oh look, what's all this? We found out that there was even more damage to it, meaning it needed a whole new block to be able to fix it. So what's the solution to that?
Put a new block in it.
Brilliant. So now I've got to fix this tub and this engine, as the £145,000 that I spent has gone to waste. First thing we need to get off then is this roof.
That's well strong.
It's got like anti-damage glitch.
It's literally doing nothing.
It's doing nothing, and it's PPF'd.
I can see what's 12 grand.
As you can see, that roof is irreparable, and so was the one off the car in America. There's 4 bolts underneath holding it in, and then the rest of the roof is sealed on, just like a windscreen is. So I'm using a lot of heat, and then a hammer and a chisel to wedge open the roof. Fire! Oh my days. There's barely any structure to this roof. It is so flimsy. Nearly there. That's the final piece. Okay, roof is off, but if it was just the roof, we'd be okay, but it's not. This part of the structure of the roof is damaged, which seems the only structural part of it, and we think the people that sold us this car actually pushed this out to make it look a little bit better, because you can see it's actually broken there, and I think that's broken from pushing it up. So this is going to have to be replaced, but in the UK, you can buy structural parts from Porsche, unlike in the US. 220 quid gets us a new roof panel. We're just going to figure out how to fit it, because unlike in the US, where they can't sell you structural parts, the UK can sell you structural parts, but they're not allowed to tell you how to fit them, so we've got to work it out ourselves. Best way to find out how it was fitted and how we can fit it is to take this one apart and work out how it's put together. So the carbon part of the roof wasn't really much of the structure, but this part was. First off, my dad's drilling out the rivets, which hold on the brackets, which hold on the sun visors. Then I'm on the top of the car with a wire wheel, trying to clean up all the sealer that's on it to expose any rivets or nuts and bolts that might be holding this part on. And it actually looks like the A-pillar is overlapping this roof panel. So it's looking like we've got to remove the A-pillar first, or at least move it out of the way, so we can get this roof panel on. Which means drilling out the rivets which hold this A-pillar on. This should break up the panel bond between the two panels. And between the aluminium A-pillar and the steel structure underneath, there's a lot of panel bond. So look guys, we've got an A-pillar outer skin. So I think from Porsche they expect you to join it around here. So what I'm going to do, for now, we're going to go with the safety bet. I'm just going to cut the A-pillar a little further than it needs to be at the minute before we have to do a perfect join cut later. I've got to be careful here not to cut through and damage the inner structure. And then surprisingly, on the inside, there's no rivets at all. The A-pillar is just panel bonded and then folded over onto the inner structure of the car, which made it actually pretty easy to remove. And remember, we're just trying to figure this out as we go along. There's no information about this anyway. Good for the bin. Oh man, good ones there. It's okay. Good ones. Okay. All of the outer structure is off, and inner structure is good apart from this roof. So it looks like we have to take off the outer skin to get to this inner skin anyway. So now we've got to drill this off, and off that side as well. And I did buy another A-pillar for that side, but we don't know if we're going to repair it or not because there's a few dents in it. But I think we're going to have to take it off anyway, so to replace that. So that side's going to come off now, and then we can fit this new roof panel. And I think everything should just line up and be self-explanatory. We hope, because we don't think any of this is moved or anything, but that's definitely gone. But let's see. This side A-pillar wasn't actually too bad, but now that we have to remove it anyway to get that roof panel off, we might as well replace it whilst we're there. It saves repairing it. And now I'm working away at getting off that roof panel. Heating up the panel bond so it loses its strength, drilling out any rivets, and then wedging my chisel underneath to pull it apart. That was only held in by 9 rivets, so 18 rivets, and that's it. Do that side now. Oh my God. Now that both A-pillars are off, I can access the other rivets holding the left-hand side of the roof panel on, and once we drill those rivets out, it should come off.
Yay!
Wow, it's what do they call it when it's got no screen and no roof? A perter, that's it. GT3RS aperta. That feels one faster without that. We've got to make sure now, when we put this roof panel on, it is exactly in the right spot. Because if we do it a little bit mill upwards or mill downwards, the screen ain't going to sit central, and neither is the roof. So we've got to make sure this is perfect. We've got to clean up these, and the good news is, by taking it apart, we've learned how it's put together, because it's just rivets. Look, 1 rivet, 2 rivet, 3 rivet, 4 rivet, and that's it. And panel bond, which is all the blue stuff. So rivet and panel bond, it is. Seems to be the way most cars are going nowadays. Well, let's do it. Now, I need to clean up all the surfaces that the panel bond's going to be touching, and also drill out the holes for the rivets. Then I should be able to put the new roof panel onto the existing structure. Well, that's what I thought. Right, another problem. This sits on here like this. Fits lovely there. Nice and flat, windscreen will go in. Pretty good. I think that's quite nice. But if you look underneath, you can see that this is not sitting flush with that. And we think that this side's not too bad. Like, I think once you put the rivets in, it'll sit up snug. But this side is not going to close the gap. But because we think this car's on its roof, and this bit had a kink in, it's all been pushed down, including this part of the structure here has been pushed down as well. You can actually see a little crease in this bit here. But luckily, this little bit here is a section, and we have got it on part of the inner structure down there. Check this out. So it's a steel inner structure. So we think if we take this off here and weld it onto there, we should be okay. The only issue is we've got to get it spot on in the right spot. But we've got to get this right now, else the windscreen could look like this when it's in. Let's drill out these spot welds. Not ideal, but that's crash damage cars for you. Luckily, I think this should be a simple fit. Because the inner structure's steel, it's spot welded on. So it should just be the case of drilling out these spot welds, pulling off the panel, and then re-welding on the new panel. But first, I'm marking it. Then let the drilling commence. And eventually, we got that steel structure off, and the underside of the panel looks all good. Okay, that was very strong, but it's understandable. It holds the roof on. So got that off now, but that's got the bit off the other one. Now we've got to clamp this on and spot weld it, or we're going to plug weld it to the inside of this to make it look like that one over there, like that. So, let's do it. Before we weld anything, I'm just adding a little bit of... Let's do it. Before we weld anything, I'm just adding a little bit of weld through primer. This will stop it rusting from the inside outwards. Then, I can put on a new panel. I've got to be 100% sure that this is in the right place. And to confirm it, I'm just fitting the roof panel in place as well, just to see how it all lines up. And everything is looking good. My dad's already drilled out the holes in this panel, ready for the weld to go in. Here we go. All we've got to do is plug weld these holes. It's easier said than done. Let's do it. Might help if I put a ground on. Now, I'm not the best welder in the world. In fact, I'm far from it. But as long as they do the job, it doesn't have to look pretty. They don't look great, but they're going to do the job. Let's find out. Yeah, solid. It's good that. There, it's going nowhere. I think it just needs cleaning it up a bit. Yeah?
I think that looks perfect, if you ask me.
Okay, not so perfect, but with a little belt sander, I should be able to make those welds look neat enough. Now, time for the roof panel. Hopefully now, it should sit nice and flush. And it does. Which is good news. We can finally start making progress. Get the roof out. The roof was the most expensive part out of all these. All these little panels are a couple £100 here and there. The roof, £8,900 plus that. And it's the weakest part out of all this, but it's carbon fibre. Let's rate it.
What?
Did the old one not have that?
No.
What's the hole?
What's the hole in there for?
Is that not where the antenna goes?
It did have an
There we
antenna.
go. Is it going back then?
Oh dear.
Is that like a GT3 roof?
No, because it's got the
carbon
bits for the aero.
Yeah, that's going to be aerial.
That's going to be aerial, ain't it?
But look,
Where's your antenna hole
mine
then?
never had a hole in it.
Yours never had one.
Well, that's got to go back.
Yeah.
Let's see if it fits, but that hole in the roof...
That's not meant to be there.
No, I know, like, trying to make safe weight, but I mean, it's a bit random. It's got to be for an aerial, isn't
There's
it?
nothing else.
Well, despite the hole in the roof, we're going to see whether it lined up anyway. And that's all we need this roof for. Hopefully we can get one without that hole later. What we can do now is continue to fit our panel at the front there, which requires panel bond and rivets. Now, because we're joining aluminium to steel, you won't be able to weld the two together. And that's why most cars nowadays are put together with panel bond and rivets. And you've just got to make sure everything's spotless and in the right place before you put any of those in. So I'm drilling the holes out for the rivets now. And then, out it comes. Clean up the surface areas, and then we can apply the mansori glue. A little bit more sanding, just to be sure. Porsche glue. If you ask for all the parts to fit the panels, when you order these structural parts from Porsche, they'll give you them. But the one thing they won't give you is the instructions on how to do it. So you have to kind of work that out yourself, unless you're a registered body shop.
I reckon you'll be able to do a wedding cake now.
With the panel bond evenly spread on the new panel, we can now lower it down into place and slide in the rivets through the holes that we've just drilled out. And in goes the rivets, and there was one self-tapping screw underneath. Strength test. Amazing. Yeah! Imagine that fell through. One roof panel successfully on, and it all lines up great. Now, we've just got to start cleaning up the A-pillar, as that'll be the next thing to go on. That is not the finished cut. Now we can put the A-pillar over that and make a perfect line, and that's the one that's going to matter. But I've had 2 practice goes at it now, and I've got a bit better. Just got to make sure that this cut is perfect when we put the A-pillar on. So we're sliding the new A-pillar into place and sliding it over the top of the existing panel, and then I can mark a line on the existing panel where we need to cut it. We've never done this before, like, we've seen it done, but we've never been left alone to do it ourselves. And now, it's time to cut it. I've got to get this cut perfect, else these 2 panels are not going to line up. And after a bit of careful cutting, off comes the excess of the A-pillar. Then we can slide back on the new A-pillar and see how well I did. Oh my god, guys.
Is it bang on, guys?
Oh my god, guys.
Consider you don't have the glasses.
Do you know what? How we look at it? Are we in the right spot, do you reckon? Yeah? So what you should do as well is slide something in, but you should be able to slide in a bit of metal like that. What I've seen people do before is cut an existing bit of metal off, then slide it underneath the panel and where you're going to join them together. That way it gives you something to weld onto and a little bit more structure underneath where the join is. I've applied some panel bond to my excess bit of metal, then slid it under the existing A-pillar, and whilst we're waiting for that panel bond to set, we can start cleaning up the new A-pillar on all the parts where the panel bond's going to be touching. Then we can be 100% sure that this panel bond's going to set right. Once it's cleaned up, it's time to put the 2-part panel bond in place, making sure we get a nice even spread across the whole panel. Then I'm just going to spread it nice and evenly across it, and it's time to put it in place. There's no going back now. This has to work. Once it's in place, we can slide back in the rivets, all along the front and the top, and then wrap around the inside of the panel onto the inner structure. It is on. The last bit though would be just to do the little seam welding here, and then it will need some bodywork just to smooth this into this perfectly good brick quarter that we have here. And we have everything crossed that the body shop can repair this quarter. It's aluminium quarter. It's going to be tough, but our repair is on the line. And of course, we've just got to do it exactly the same but on the other side. But now that we've learned how to do it, we can breeze through it. And there is 2 almost repaired A-pillars. We just need the last little bit finishing off now. Bob's here from the machine shop who completely welded up the girder, so this is going to be light work for him. Just going to join it, special welding, aluminium to aluminium. God. Bob is going to be TIG welding the 2 aluminium panels. That's because this takes a little bit more skill than the MIG welding that I did earlier, especially as it's on a panel that you're going to be able to see. And this welding gets super hot, and it's important not to get it too hot that it warps the panels. But Bob knows exactly what he's doing, and it's already starting to look really good. Once he's got the weld down, he can then clean up his work and start using a sanding wheel to make it nice and flat and flush.
That looks too bad, is it?
And that is pretty much job done. All done, look at that. Final product. Bob smashed it. If you want to learn how to weld, go to the machine shop. If you also want to borrow some tools and powder coating, what else you got?
We've got a workshop like a gym where you can come and use all of our kits. So instead of buying your own kit, you can use ours. And we've got a YouTube channel now as well.
Oh yeah, you can watch Bob on YouTube.